Hey, what's up, Warriors? Good afternoon. My name is Leland Holgate. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the president and founder of Warriors for Life America. And we are a nonprofit that's focused on military veterans, our first responders, and their families as well. So it's been a real blessing in my life. We just got started last year, and we've been partnered with some pretty amazing other nonprofits as well, such as MVP, Merging Vets and Players, Trauma Recovery Yoga. So just wanted to get on today and really blast out some thank yous. I think right now during, this challenging moment and these challenging times, being grateful for what we have in our lives gives us the ability to get more of that, and also allows us to appreciate exactly where we are or even where we came from. So for myself, big thank you goes out to my brother and sister-in-law. They have been huge, but their whole family, my two nephews and my niece. I've been able to stay with them just before the quarantine hit. I was displaced, a relationship ended, and then this just happened exactly the way that it should, and they've been there for me. So big thank you to them, first of all, for allowing me this beautiful space. I mean, look at where I'm at. I'm in a swing on the front porch. It's a beautiful day out. There's flowers around. Kids are in the backyard playing. We have the palapa. I'm sure if you've tuned into our videos for yoga, you see it. I got the palapa out back there. So really, really blessed. And first people that I wanted to shout that thank you out to. The other people in my life as well, Trauma Recovery Yoga, Joyce and Darwin Bozen, also Warren, the CEO of Trauma Recovery Yoga, the nonprofit side. And thank you so much to you guys as well. Joyce she's like my sister. She's the female version of me, essentially. And Darwin and Joyce have just helped me through my own challenges and have also boosted me up to now become the executive director of Trauma Recovery Yoga. So super, super blessed to be involved with that great company and those amazing people. So definitely thankful for that. And there's a lot more stuff coming out. In fact, this afternoon, we'll have my tri class, Total Resilience Yoga, at 5:45. So stay tuned for that. I'll put the link out here shortly. But so there's a few realizations that I've had besides all of these thank yous. And during this time, I think it's all perspective. It really is. It's how you look at it. It's how you handle things. You are not what has happened to you. You are what you choose to become. And this, of course, if I'm being honest with myself, has been one of the most challenging situations I've ever dealt with in my life. Moving in with my brother just before this happening and having to rediscover and redefine myself and what makes me happy and what I need in my life. And then, of course, the fears of uncertainty. I mean, we all have that fear of uncertainty. It's just not letting it rule you, of course. So that this whole perspective for me kind of shifted over the quarantine process here. And of course, at first, I kind of shamed myself. I think we all do that at a time. You shame yourself for feeling fear, for feeling upset, perhaps, because we don't like the situation, the uncertainty, jobs that people have lost, lives that have been lost, all of the things that have come along, all these challenges that have come along with this quarantine. And thankfully, I've had amazing people around me, like I had mentioned, Joyce and Darwin, Merging Vets and Players, Noel, and Isaac, and everybody at MVP, all my brothers and sisters and veterans and the fighters that are with us and the NFL players, all these amazing people kind of help nudge you back into where you need to be, or bumpers, so to speak, like Annie, my co-host, likes to say. Those bumpers to keep you on track. So with them, it's been a very enlightening process during this whole quarantine. Of course, allowing myself to feel all of those emotions allowed me to move through it and allowed me to process it. The only way out is in. So that's like a big thing that I remind myself of, is being able to move through all of those things and just keeping that positive perspective, that positive mentality, and knowing that this too shall pass. So it switched me into that attitude of gratitude for sure. You know, a lot of us, and even myself until recently, we focus on what we're missing out on. We focus on what we're losing instead of what we're gaining. And during this whole physical distancing thing that we've had, we still remain socially connected. So it's been kind of nice, you know, and that's one of the changes that I've made for myself, following Jay Glazer's amazing tagline that he had said, you know, physically distanced, socially connected. We've now had the chance to maybe tune into some things that we didn't have time for before. We've had the chance to talk even over, you know, just technology here, talk to each other, and maybe even make connections that we never would have made because we've been so busy beforehand. So it's one of the big things that I'm doing is just realizing everything that was gained from this, and not so much paying attention to the things that were lost. So a little bit about my story. If you don't know me, my name is Leland Holgate, and was born and raised in Vicenza, Italy. So I got to grow up in Europe, which was a unique perspective, seeing a different way of life. My mother and my father were both in the Army. My dad was an Army Ranger, Special Forces, and my mother was a RN in the Army. So she was a nurse. And it was a really, really great place to grow up. But of course, I had my challenges coming up. And the reason that I like to cover anything or my story is so that I can show you, if I can do these things, you can do these things. If I can be successful, if I can move forward and be happy in life, oh my goodness, I can show everybody how to do that. You know, you all can. So from a very young age, I was beaten and broken by the man that I called my hero. And I still do look at my dad as my hero. But obviously, the things that he had seen and gone through in the military had bled over onto me. And I got to be the target of that obsession with anger and fear. And growing up was a little tough, obviously. Always wanting that love from the person that you love the most, you know, your hero, and then hearing the car pull up and just knowing that things are about to go bad, and that being your entire life. So it immediately at a young age, from 5 on, I had to find ways to keep my mind busy, because I knew the bad thing was going to happen at some point during the day, but I couldn't worry about it throughout the day. So that turned into, once we had my brothers and sisters, anything I could do to just keep his attention on me. If he'd go after my mother, he'd go after my brothers or sister, I would make sure that I instilled that anger back on me, brought it back to me. So on top of having that growing up, I was also sexually abused by a babysitter that we had, and shamed, of course, and told not to talk to anybody about it because it would make me look bad, and then I would get in trouble and all these things. So growing up was interesting, and definitely that all those challenges made me stronger. And I didn't realize how until, obviously, now. In hindsight, obviously, is 2020. But at the age of 17, I decided I was tired of being told what to do. So I joined the Air Force. I joined the military. And my dad was proud. I went off to become a C-130 loadmaster. So he was happy, of course, that I didn't go for any kind of combat position. Well, at first, I didn't realize, of course, being a C-130 loadmaster, that there were other positions inside of that as well, other job tasks. And one of them, of course, was I was tasked with the most deployed, or one of the most deployed squadrons in the Air Force as a C-130 loadmaster. So I had to go through SEER training, went through combat training. And of course, he wasn't too happy about that, because he wanted me to, I guess, ride a desk and just stay away from the things that he had seen and some of the things that he had done on his deployments. But I went ahead and became that C-130 loadmaster with the 61st Airlift Squadron. So we were in it. We were deployed. We went in with all the other branches of service. We made sure that you got in. We made sure that you got out. We made sure that you stayed fed, had ammo, and everything else that you need for the logistics side of things. So I got to deploy for Operation Northern Iraq, or Northern Watch, which was watching the northern no-fly zones for Iraq, and that was pre-invasion. And then, of course, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and I was part of Operation Anvil, Yugoslavia, when Slobodan Milosevic was instituting his reign of terror on the Muslims. So one of the big missions that sticks out in my head, of course, the one that really affected me the most, was we were running missions into Albania, one of the places that was hit by Slobodan. And on our way out, we were lit up by SAM, surface-to-air missile site. Thankfully, no fire, nothing came after us, but of course, bells and whistles are going off in the plane. The alarms are going off. And as a C-130 loadmaster, I'm in the window with what they call a pickle to pop out chaff and flare to make sure if anything does come after us, I can try and get that missile to veer off course and miss us. So we're yanking and we're banking. There's so many people in the aircraft. They're all looking to me for answers, and I have no answers. Of course, in the air, there's nothing you can do. I have nobody that can watch my back. You're stuck. On the ground, you have the guy to the left, you have the guy to your right. You can hit low, you can drop, you can find something to hide behind. When you're in the air, there's nothing you can do. So for the next 15 to 20 minutes, there was just the sheer terror and fear on the faces of everybody in that aircraft. And this unknowing for me, whether we were even going to make it out of that situation or get back home safely. And thankfully, of course, we got back home. We made it out of that situation. It was one of those things where they like to threaten, or that was like a game for them, I guess. But when we got back, that really hit me hard. I lost that feeling of safety. I lost that feeling of, security. I was hopeless. I was defenseless. There was nothing I can do. And I don't think I had ever experienced that level of it in my life. So we got back and we go for R&R, rest and recovery. And we go out to the lake. So Lake Heber Springs, really nice place. We go out and do cliff jumping, wave runners, and getting pulled on inner tubes. So while I'm out there, I'm getting pulled on one of these inner tubes behind a wave runner. And as it cuts left, I got flung off to the right. And all I remember is just flying in the air, coming down onto the water, and then everything going black. My friend Tony thankfully pulled me up onto the wave runner, got me back to shore, and the state trooper there in Arkansas went to work on me, had to resuscitate me. There was no vitals, so I was dead for just a little over 2 minutes. And finally, after reviving me and me waking up in the ambulance, there was just everything was going on. Of course, the last thing I remember was blacking out. Now I wake up and there's people over me and they're poking me with needles and there's tubes going this way and the neck collar's on and I can just feel that pain in the back of the head and the back of the neck. But I also can't feel my legs and I also can't feel my hands. And every time he kept poking me with that needle and I couldn't see where he was hitting me. Can you feel that? Can you feel that? This sheer terror just came over me. No, I can't feel anything. I don't know what's going on. How can I move my arms? How can I move my legs? Well, apparently once we got me to the hospital and the CAT scan showed that I had bruised the spinal column at C2. So that's what shut everything down. And that contusion on the spinal cord, from what they told me, is never going to heal. It's something that I might just have to get used to being a quadriplegic for the rest of my life. And that news, of course, is the worst thing I'd ever heard in my life. I didn't think there was any way to get past that. There's no way I could live like that. I couldn't. So of course I went down this pity party road and woe is me. And I mean, by all rights, I just lost everything. 20 years old, when I lost the ability to walk, I've lost everything in my life. And I was just told that this could be my reality for the rest of my existence. And while I'm laying there, I had that mission just weeks previous, playing over and over and over in my head. Every time I'd fall asleep, every time I'd close my eyes, I would hear the alarms. I would smell the smells of being there. I would see the flashes of looking out the window and frantically looking for the smoke, that tall tale sign of a missile headed your way. And at some point in that second day, something just changed in me. And I woke up bawling my eyes out, and I just said, no, this is not going to be my life. I'm not going to lay here. I'm not going to let this just replay over and over and over in my head. And this is what I get for the rest of my life. So something changed after that second day. Thankfully, I started feeling tingles into the brachial plexus, which is this big grouping of nerves that travels through the shoulders and down the arms. And I started getting these tingles and little burning sensations moving through the arm. And that was it. Just this rush went over my head. Finally, I can feel something. Something is coming back. I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't really sit up. I couldn't move my arms, but I could at least start to feel things. Eventually moving into fingers wiggling. Eventually moving into being able to lift my elbows and then my arms. And within about 2 to 2.5 weeks, eventually I started getting the feeling from the waist down. And from there, I was blessed to have a physical therapist that was also a yogi. So I had no idea that during my physical therapy, he was doing yin yoga stuff with me, to stretch the hamstrings and to open the hip flexors, because after being down for that long, everything just tightened up like a rock, it's like a stone in every direction. So thankfully, I had no idea that he was doing yoga poses. I'm a young guy. I just think, okay, cool. He's doing this physical therapy for me. Well, at the end of the physical therapy, he sprung that on me and told me, a lot of these poses that we've been doing are things that you can do for yourself. It's part of a yoga practice. He was an Ashtangi. He practiced Ashtanga. So he said, it's part of my yoga practice. And I incorporate that into my physical therapy, because the more I can teach people to do this for themselves, the more they can prevent injury and heal from things that they might not have thought were possible. So thank you to him. That was Jim Strait, and super, super cool guy. From there, for a guy my age, 20 years old in the military, yoga for me was for girls. It wasn't the right workout. I was all into the lifting and pressing and all that good stuff. So I went with it, though, for that physical characteristic, noticing that, hey, he's got me moving again. I at least can use a walker. And now I'm moving myself to a cane to be able to walk. So over the next 12 to 13 months, I continued to do some of these yoga poses that he had me doing 2 to 3 times a day, as much stretching as I could take. Eventually, I started being able to move a little better. I also noticed I didn't have to take as many pain pills. I could get off of the pain medication, and a lot of the nerve pain that was happening after that accident kind of stopped, or at least minimized. It lessened. So I continued and eventually got rid of the cane, and eventually finally got back to my normal self. I didn't get 100% back because I couldn't feel the bottoms of my feet, and there was some neuropathy that had happened, and some nerve damage, obviously, that I had sustained. But I had the ability to walk. Everything was fine in my world. Oh my goodness, I got a whole new lease on life. And looking back on that, of course, it was again that perspective that I was talking about earlier. It's the choice. This has happened to you. Now what? Now what are you going to do? And I'm sure even if I didn't gain the ability to walk back, my perspective still would have taken me in the direction of there's something I can do. I survived this. There's something I'm meant to do. There's something I'm meant to bring out to the world. There's something I'm meant to share. So I finally heal from this, and I move on and start a family. Moved here to Las Vegas, and have 3 beautiful children. And, I still had this hole inside of me, this issue, of course, experiencing PTSD. Anybody that has dealt with any type of trauma in your life, the body does store all of those things. So I thought I was past it, just learning how to walk again. Well, there's still that mental aspect, and and that mission that just completely took away all of my security and all of the safety and confidence that I had in myself, and just that feeling of defenselessness and hopelessness set in. And eventually I found my way to drugs. And eventually I found my way into alcoholism, those negative coping strategies that many of us find because it numbs the bad. Well, unfortunately, it also numbs the good. It doesn't give you the ability to feel any longer. So for, a good almost decade and a half, 15 years at least, I was just this anger and rage freak, and it was everybody else's fault, and no personal responsibility. I'm not getting what I want out of my life because other people are holding me back, and it became this negative spiral. Just got out of control to the point where I overdosed, and thankfully I was able to have a friend next to me side by side that got me to the hospital immediately, and again, revived from my OD. And kind of a new lease on life once again, right? So I know we all look at success as this linear, straight path, but there's that messy middle, that happens, that you fall down, you get back up, you take steps back, you take steps forward. And finally, I had that new lease on life again. So moving forward, in 2016, my father, who was a big influence on my life, and who we had come to this understanding of what had happened, or maybe an unspoken way of understanding that I know that wasn't you, and I know that you didn't mean to visit that down on me. And in 2016, I think the PTSD and the looking back on what he had done to me, my mother, and my other brother Josh, he couldn't take it anymore, and he killed himself. So I got that news just before his birthday. He would have been 60 in 2016. So 4-year anniversary coming up. Miss you so much, Dad. But it sent me into another spiral, another tailspin. Actually, it was a head spin, because I went into it head first, knowing what was going on. Shortly afterward, also being told and diagnosed with colon cancer stage 2. So with my dad's death and the impending doom brought on by the word that we all hate to hear, cancer, I just thought it was over. I figured that's it. That's the straw that broke the camel's back. And if I'm going to go out, then I'm going to go out my way. I'm going to go out the way I want to, standing up. And that is not what happened. I again found drugs. I again found alcohol. And while it may have been a short trip and a short visitation, I just completely threw everything away. Everything that I had, my pest control company, I sold it. At one point, I became homeless and had to sleep on a couch that I found, in some backyard somewhere that was a house that I was evicted out of. So completely empty house, and sleeping outside and sleeping in my truck. And thankfully, again, I had friends who were there for me. Daniel Castleberry actually had a place for me to stay, and was the first person that really reached out and helped me realize that, the path you're going down is a choice, and you don't have to. So once again, found my new lease on life. And this time I decided I was going to fight. If I had learned how to walk again, then there's no way I was going to let cancer beat me. There's no way I was going to let drugs and alcohol rule in my life once again. So moving forward, did everything that I could to clean up my diet. Went vegan actually for just a little over 2 years, which of course helped clean the entire inside of my body out. I also started using Rick Simpson oil, suppositories and oral, and I beat it. Thankfully, just a little less than 2 years, went into full remission, beat the cancer. And from that point decided it's time to start the nonprofit. It's time to make sure I take care of my brothers and sisters, because if there are plenty of people out there like my dad who are hurting. We don't know. We lose over 22 a day, and I'm sure you've heard that number. Based off of some of the numbers and stats that I've seen, it's upwards of 50 a day that we're actually losing when you take in the older Vietnam veterans and some of our older war veterans. So I knew I had to do something. I had this light inside of me that I found once again, and throughout my life, I had come back to yoga, and I had found a way to find that light inside, and just that possibility, that belief that it can be better, that I can make it better, and that I'm no longer a result, that I am a creation and something that I am putting myself out there to be, something I'm doing. So I became a yoga instructor over at True Fusion. Absolutely enlightening experience. I'm now a 500-hour registered yoga teacher, and it's the absolute joy of my life, and to share that light and that healing with people, and just that possibility that there's more inside of you. There's something that you can do. There's always one more thing you can do to better your situation. And the first thing that you can do is just change your mind. When you change the way you look at a thing, the thing you look at changes. So if you see the blessings, then that's exactly what you're going to get. And that's why I love to tell all of these challenges in this story, this polytraumatic life that I've had that has just at some points seemed like it's all falling apart. It's all caving in. And actually what was happening was everything was falling into place. I had to travel down those dark and dreary paths. I had to attempt suicide 3 times and thankfully fail. I had to OD. I had to become a drug addict. I had to experience all of these horrible things throughout my life so that I could find that power inside of me and share that with everybody else, and make sure that everybody knew that if I can make it through something like this, you can make it through what you're going through as well. This too shall pass. Tomorrow is my year anniversary for another accident, trauma in my life. Just 1 year ago tomorrow, I had a head-on collision that again left me a paraplegic. For just a week and a half, thankfully, the impact on my spinal column shut down the lower limbs, and I couldn't feel anything. Thankfully, that was a short amount of time. It only lasted about a week and a half. The doctors think that that's what the body's response was to protect everything in that area, just shut it all down so that it could heal. Of course, I remained completely positive. I had my amazing family at Trauma Recovery Yoga. I also had my amazing family at Merging Vets and Players that had my back. So I had plenty of friends coming in, plenty of people giving me that just hang in there mentality. And I did. And I had some of the most amazing people on my side and behind me, helping me back up. And here I am a year later. I am now, again, the executive director of Trauma Recovery Yoga, which this happened during the quarantine. I now am walking again. I'm back to teaching. We have our classes, actually, if you haven't seen them yet, our virtual yoga classes that I do on this channel. We're also going to have fitness coming up soon. And of course, Trauma Recovery Yoga. I'm teaching that as well as helping to run the company. So all of these amazing things happened the moment that I decided to change my mind and look at the blessings. Even during this quarantine, I had this moment of sleeplessness, and I'm sure we've all had those issues with your routine being thrown off, right, through this quarantine. And I wasn't getting much sleep. And again, the mind is a powerful thing. And I paid attention to all that fear-based thinking. Oh my goodness, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? People are losing jobs. There's no way to operate my nonprofit right now. There's all of these things. And, I was on the edge of that cliff, metaphorically looking down at well, what's the point in going on? And again, Noel and Isaac from MVP, thank you guys. literally reached out, saved my life once again. So reached out and just got me more active, got me out of the house, got me out of my head. And it was one of the perfect reminders to remember that you're human first. Because here I am as a leader. Here I am as a yoga instructor, as an example of what you can do and your power that you hold inside of yourself. And I had to also remember that I'm human first. So there may be times that you're going to fall down, and that's fine, because it's the getting up that makes you stronger. And the falling down just becomes something that happened instead of something that rules your life, because you choose to get back up and move forward. You know, a winner is just a loser that chose to try one more time. And that was a perfect thing for me to fall on during this quarantine. Is the blessings are all around us. Change your perspective on where you are right now, and I guarantee you your life will change just like that. Just pay attention to the things that you have in your life. I'm thankful that I had a morning routine and that I have a daily routine. And all I did was just got right back to that. You know, take 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day in the very beginning of your day and figure out what makes you happy. What's going to make you tick? What's going to make you smile? Positive affirmations. You know, look at yourself, declare to yourself that I am amazing. I am strong. I am healing. I am letting go. All of these amazing things. You know, the two most powerful words in the universe are I am. And what follows, you literally do become. So what we focus on, we feel. So if you can continue to just remind yourself of the things that you have in your life and run those morning routines and run those daily routines, you're going to notice a huge change in your life. So for me, you know, I constantly listen to positive motivational podcasts, you know, from a wide span of different people. And even in those tough times, I continued to listen to those. Even when it wasn't landing, I would continue to listen to those positive podcasts. Even when I didn't feel like it was working, I continued to journal and write my goals down. Even when I didn't think it was working, I continued to meditate, to try to just quiet the mind a little bit, even for 5 minutes, to let me tune in and check out. So remember that for yourself. Set these things up, or set yourself up for success with whatever makes you happy. And if you get a hold of me, we can tailor a plan for just you that is personalized. You know, we figure out what makes you tick, what makes you happy. And then every day, do that. Just take small steps and do that. Even when it feels like it's not working, continue to move forward. Continue to say good things to yourself. Continue to move your body in the morning, maybe practice yoga, maybe just stretch, maybe take a walk, maybe start journaling, you know, maybe start focusing on helping other people. You know, we rise by lifting others. So there's all these different ways that you can continue to push yourself forward. And if you get a hold of me, like I said, I would be happy to work on, you know, some sort of tailored morning routine for you. And while we're in this challenging time, I know the phases are coming now, and hopefully we're getting back to normal, hopefully. But while this is happening, I'm still going to be putting out all of our virtual classes. And in fact, we're adding some more in there. So I'm talking to some other instructors, some amazing people. We're going to have some fitness. I'm going to be running some Pilates because I'm Pilates and fitness trained as well. We're going to do some boot camps. We're going to do some core workouts. We're going to do some yin yoga. We've got the trauma-informed yoga, our warrior flow, which is level 2 trauma recovery yoga or total resilience yoga. We like to call it try harder as well. So we have the trauma-informed yoga, and now we're also going to bring out the hatha yoga, you know, maybe some yin, and so you can have that music, and you can have the different types for you to choose from. And while we're going through this challenging time, all of those on our virtual platforms are absolutely free. So go to warriorsforlifeamerica.org for any other information. Also check out our YouTube channel, Warriors for Life America. Check out Trauma Recovery Yoga YouTube channel as well. You'll see me on there teaching our method, which I'm teaching tonight at 5:45 p.m. And also, as we continue to move forward, like I said, one of the things that we're going to focus on is being a little more interactive. So we're going to have check-ins like this occasionally. And anybody that would like to send me an email, it's lelandholgatesenior@gmail.com. We can talk about what might help you out and get you started on your own morning routine so that we can help bring balance into your life. That is exactly why I created this nonprofit. And it's exactly why I work with Trauma Recovery Yoga and MVP, all of these great organizations. They're working to bring balance back to your life, to fill that hole that we all have, either after service or after serving as a public servant here in the cities. So we're there for you. Please keep that in mind. We got your six. My name again is Leland Holgate, and I am the president and founder of Warriors for Life America, also the executive director over at Trauma Recovery Yoga. So if you need anything, please reach out and we can help you out with any of those. Pay attention for our virtual classes. Like I said, I'll have those up on our website here by the end of the week, and you'll see if you subscribe to this, go ahead and throw us a subscribe and hit the little bell too, so you'll get notifications and you'll see when we have our next classes coming up. So remember, we have our yoga classes, several different types. We're also going to throw in some of our fitness as well. So while we're going through this, before the gyms open and everything else, you still have your outlet that you can lean on. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for watching this video. I feel like me being able to share my testimony and being an example for others is going to help empower and inspire other people to do their own form of healing, to find out what makes you tick, to find that inner power that you possess yourself. And I'm super excited to help you actually obtain that for yourself. So please also keep an eye out for our webinar. My co-host and myself, Annie, puts on a webinar for guys. We'll have something for ladies coming out very soon, but of course, our focus we wanted to make on empowering our men so that they can go out there and be impactful in society and boost our women like they should be boosted and really do great works. So our webinar is called The Duality of Being a Man, and it's a webinar for guys. It's on the first and third Thursday of every month at 6 p.m. So go to oneimprima.com. For that, you can register for our next one coming up on the 21st. And we look forward to seeing you there. One of the big things that we're trying to do is have those conversations that, especially as guys, we might not have had, always told to rub some dirt in it. Don't be a sissy. Stop crying. Push that stuff down. All those things have actually created vulnerability for us. So exploring the femininity, exploring those conversations that you haven't had with yourself really allows you to put those things to the side, lets you kind of just shake it free or drop it off of yourself. Because once you're aware of something, it no longer holds power over you. Once you start to work on something for yourself, you notice your superpower. And that's exactly what vulnerability is for you, is allowing yourself to be imperfect and realize that being uncomfortable is okay. It's actually the greatest form of growth for us. So keep an eye out for all that good stuff from Leland Holgate and Warriors for Life America. I want to thank you for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on your mat tonight at 5:45 p.m. Keep an eye out for that. All right, take care, y'all. Namaste.